Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Spiritual Wake Up Call. I'm your host, Marilyn Tennant. And oh, somebody's at the door. Hold on one second. Hello? What? What? No, no. Ah! What is up, bitches? This is Jezzy. I'm the reincarnated soul of the Witch of Endor. Don't worry, I'll have Marilyn back to you just after she's through that little spell I put on her. We are celebrating the Sawin season, the darker time of the year, the beginning of the transition, the marked time of the thinning of the veils. Speaking of Samhain, did you know that Samhain is the Gaelic festival of the marking of the end of harvest season and the beginning of winter? And I'm going to be holding down the podcast, spinning those reels of the spooky, mysterious subject matter here on Wake Up Call. We're going to be talking about things that celebrate the transitioning, the death, the very mysterious parts of the world and other worlds. And one of those first topics this week is on psychic awareness. And the person that I'm bringing through is somebody who has a touch and special power of being able to communicate and get information from the other side. Her name's Corbie Mitleid, and she's a psychic medium, and she's going to be sharing her story here of how she accesses that information and what it may mean. And we're going to be celebrating this, the death, the transition, the thinning of the veils. So let's get ready, bitches, to get dark and mysterious. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into Spiritual Wake Up Call. I am your host, Marilyn Tennant. I'm so thankful that you are here today because I have Corbie Mitleid. She is a psychic medium and a tarot master, a past life specialist, and inspirational teacher and author. And I've never had a psychic on the podcast before. So when she reached out to me, I jumped at it because I thought this would be very interesting. So I want to welcome you, Corbie, so much for being here.
It's great to be here, Marilyn. Thank you for asking.
All right, let's start out with the first question. I just was wondering if you could describe to us, what is your process for tuning in to your clients? Can you describe how you reach and access the information that you use to help your clients with?
My ego goes on the shelf. I have been doing this since I was 18. I'm 67. So I often say I've been doing this as long as, since Moses was in diapers. But the thing that I have noticed is when I completely shelve my ego and I absolutely focus on my client with non-judgment and compassion, I get out of the way and the information flows.
So do you use like clairaudience? Is it do you how
I
would you
use
describe it? Everything? Okay.
every single thing. It's like asking a doctor, what tool do you use? Doctor has tons.
Right.
The four things that people come to me for, I jokingly say, are the everyday tour bus, house car, job, kids. Okay, God, you put me here. Now what? Who was I in 1642 Belgium? Past lives. I want to speak to my spirit guide, Binky, and how's dead Aunt Mabel? That's what people
Right.
come to me for. All of these are different things. When you are asking about the practicalities, I will use tangible methods. I will use tarot or oracle cards. I'll use numerology. For that, it's a matter of I've done it for so long. It's like going to the gym every day. The cards are allegorical. They are doorways into the psychic world. And so I don't read exactly what the cards are supposed to mean. I read what they tell me. And I do it with multiple card spreads so that the client feels empowered. I do not want to be a guru, my friends. Mentor, yes. Guru, no. When it comes to past lives, that is channeling work. And what I do is past life retrieval, not regression. And there's a big difference in that. Regression is done through hypnotherapy, where the client goes wandering in the Akashic and maybe finds a life. Retrieval is where a client says to me, why am I weirded out when I get wet hair in my face? And I rush up, I pull the book down and I say, here, read chapter 2. Spirit guides, mediumship, that's all just a direct download again from spirit. And it's a matter of my getting out of the way, because the more your ego is involved, the more you as an intuitive, you're going to question your answers. You're going to try and tailor them. And that is not the truth. The truth is you are the tube it comes through. It isn't you.
And I respect that so much, because I have been to a psychic before, and you know, I'm not going to name any names, but that she prided and advocated and advertised herself as somebody who only brings in white light, or only brings in that of the lightest. And it was showed that she had a fear for the shadow, which, if you're going to get the whole picture, it could be actually that tactic. I didn't feel fulfilled coming from that reading, because she was filtering it through it. You go.
It's like I did a soul plane reading yesterday. It's my most in-depth piece. I generally am at the desk at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm in deep trance meditation till I talk to my client that night. And she had a question which wasn't really on target for what her homework said. So I had to morph the question. And what I brought down was difficult for her to hear unless she held on to the idea that this is not who you are. This is a part that your soul asked to play with certain parameters. Marilyn and Corbie, we are one and done. This particular recipe will never be down here again, no matter how many times our souls choose to incarnate. Does that make sense?
Yes. So it's like we go in, and it's kind of like a recipe, as you say, for an experience.
I use the idea of the actor Matt Smith. Okay, for all of you Doctor Who fans out there, Matt played the 11th Doctor. He was my doctor, the crazy best friend. But when he was done, he hung up the Doctor Who suit and he put on Prince Philip for the first 2 seasons of The Crown. And when he was done with that, he hung up the Prince Philip suit, and now he's playing some whack job in House of the Dragons. Right. The Doctor, the Prince, and the whack job are all like incarnations. Matt Smith is the soul that brings them to life.
Right. That's so true. You said one of the 4 types that of the concerns or problems that people come to you is the tour bus. And I wanted to ask more about that. Because I recognized all the rest, but the tour bus, I didn't know what that was about.
I use the idea of the everyday tour bus being all the practical information that people come to. And my job is to be an intuitive counselor, not a fortune teller, because the fortune teller is where you get into problems.
Yeah.
Okay. It's where the fake gypsies go when you say, is my business going to be a success? Oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4, you have a dog, and then you get handed a $6,000 blessed candle. I don't do that. I always teach you how to ask the empowering questions. Instead of will it, it's how do I make my business rock and roll? And then, because I'm a certified tarot master, I know how to do deep dish multiple card spreads. If you wanted to open up, let's say, a cat cafe, there would be a card for you, a card for any businesses you had, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. That is not good or bad. That is simply, these are all of the luscious parts that you can take with you to make this thing legendary. And that is the difference between a fortune teller, who basically says this is what your life is and you can't change it, and an intuitive counselor who can show you the energies that are there for you to work with.
Right. And that is so interesting that you said example cat cafe, because I just went to a cat cafe yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you want to start one?
So the funny thing is that was actually life path potential for me at one point.
I'm a mom cat for 40 years and I have a 27-pound Maine Coon, so I
Oh,
totally get
wow.
that.
Yeah, I'm a cat person for sure. But the funny thing is, like, do you use that example usually? Because
No, I just
that,
open up and I think, okay, what
yeah,
example is going to work? And upstairs download,
it
you
feels like
know.
that's confirmation of your abilities because I passed that bridge, at least at this point now in my life. I'm not doing the cat cafe, but that was like
Mhm.
literally a serious concern, a serious
Okay,
consideration that I was thinking of
cool.
doing. Um, but no, not, I decided not to. And it's just funny, we have all these avenues that we could go down
Hmm.
as this, like you said, character that you're playing, where you can
Yes.
be a cat cafe owner, or you can move to another state, or you can
Hmm.
go to college, or, and it's, I call those life path potentials because
Yes.
everybody has certain potentials and avenues that they could go down, and it
Mhm.
can be a totally different life. And it's like
Completely.
empowering to realize that, would you
Hmm.
say?
Yes. No one should think that this is the only thing you can do. What I try to get people to understand is it is important for you to find your sentence of passion. Your sentence of passion is not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It's your vapor trail. When you go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank, and God hands you a cup of coffee and says, "So tell me," you get really excited telling him everything you got to do. My sentence of passion is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take somebody from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, I'm living on my bliss. And I've done it in every one of the crazy different jobs I've ever had. It's not the job, it's the energy that you bring to it.
Yes. Yes. And right now I'm a nurse by trade.
Hmm.
And I love helping. I think my passion is helping people, like just helping them heal. I have this drive to, I'm also a Virgo ascending and
Hmm.
moon. So,
Hmm.
but I have this drive to like make something better. And that's, I think, what all my life path potentials will always be, no matter where I
What is
go.
your sun sign?
Sagittarius.
Okay, see, I'm a Pisces with a Virgo moon and a Virgo rising, and I tell people I'm a
Oh,
flake, but I'm a really organized flake.
right,
And
right, right.
that's what Virgo does. That's what Virgo does.
That's right. I love it. So me and you are twins as far as ascending and moon.
We
Totally
are indeed.
awesome. Do you go into a lot of astrology as well with your clients, or do you focus? What is your favorite method?
Well, for that, the things I love best are tarot, oracle, and past lives. But here's why. Because if any of your listeners are saying, I think I want to go down this road of intuitive, when you say to the universe, "Hi, I'm accepting your draft notice," the universe goes rifling through your internal file cabinet to see what you have. I was a theater major at Brown University and I acted in New York for years. So I understand character arcs. Words are my drug of choice. I'm a writer. I can tell stories. And I have loved history since I was a wee thing in single digits. You put all that together, and telling the stories of the cards are easy, and past lives are easy for me. There could be somebody over here who's really good with them, but if you give us both the same vision, and they don't have my history background, they might say, well, it's a long skirt and a big hat and a really ornate building. I think it's in Europe somewhere. I could see the exact same thing and go, okay, you're in a hobble skirt, that's a picture hat, that kind of ostrich feather, and you're in front of the Brandenburg Gate. So we're talking Berlin in 1911.
Oh, wow.
On the other hand, do not ask me to do spirit art because I cannot draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer. Not my wheelhouse.
Right.
So I do love astrology, but again, not my thing. But when someone wants a skill I don't have, I make it my job to know the best ones in that field. If you want astrology, I would immediately send you to my friend Pat Dumas in York, Pennsylvania, who is the most astonishing astrologer I've ever seen and knows how to explain it in layman's terms, because
Right.
that's when astrology is most useful. When someone who doesn't know the astrology can hear what it is really bringing to the table.
Absolutely. And to bring it into a language that everyone can understand is a
Hmm.
very special art. And
Yes.
same thing with tarot. I like to do tarot as well.
Hmm.
Um, I was wondering, what's your favorite tarot card if you have one? Because mine would be the sun. I love seeing that card. There's something about it because it indicates the enlightenment. I think when I see the sun, I think of enlightenment. Do you have any cards that you like to talk about with that you
Oh, I
focus in,
love
or
to
you
talk
just
about
open them all?
all of them,
All
all
of
of
them.
them.
Okay.
But there are three cards that weird out rookies: Death, the Devil, and the Tower. And if I know someone is
Yes.
new, I sit down with them and I say, it doesn't mean that. And the two cards I talk about, the Death card does not mean you're going to be hit by a bus on Tuesday. It's
Right.
death of an old way of life, death of what you've outgrown, death of what was never you in the first place. And the
Mhm.
one that really scares people is the Tower card. Doom,
Mhm.
gloom, and destruction. But I say, no, no, no. I want you to think of it like the imploding sports stadium card. All right. You said you used to be from what, Michigan?
Michigan. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll use Detroit. If the Detroit Tigers want to build a new stadium, they got to blow up the old one first and clear the
Right.
ground.
Sure.
When people understand it that way, and I teach them to run toward change, not away from it, all of a sudden they are empowered no matter what's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can't avoid things. So you got to find three reasons to be okay with it and step forward and say next.
So tell us about your authorship. I saw in your title that you're an author. What have
Yes.
you written, and do you want to share that with us?
Oh, sure. Um, as I said, words are my drug of choice. And I learned that from my father, who was a doctor, but a beautiful, beautiful poet. I write what I know. So my books are nonfiction. The first one is called Clean Out Your Life Closet. And it's about clarity, adaptability, simplicity, and making friends with stress. But I do not tell you, do everything I tell you and it all gets better, because I haven't lived your life. It's here's some ideas, here's some dumb things I did. At the end of each chapter, you've got what I call the adventure pages, and I pose questions to you that you can't go and turn to page 82 and copy it. You have to examine your own life so that by the end of that book, you know yourself really well, you understand what a champion you really are, and you can move forward based on your life story, not mine. The second book I wrote, there are 60 million books out there about psychic development. This is one that you may not want to be a psychic, but you may want to safely find one, use one. It's called The Psychic Yellow Brick Road: How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys. And it teaches you what we can do, how to prep for a great session, what questions to ask, which ones not to ask, when to run, what we really can and cannot do. And the third book, it's kind of a niche book. I was on the road doing psychic fairs for 18 years, 45 weekends a year on the road, 50,000 miles a year on the car. My nickname was the Travel Channel. But
Mhm.
back injury in 2019 took me off the road. And so I have written that book down. It's called You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? 18 years of everything I know about being an A-lister at these holistic and spiritual expos. So if I know it, I will share it. That's how I love writing. It's why I love podcasts.
Awesome. And so, what are some of the good, like the green flags and red flags when looking for a psychic, would you say, or looking for the right psychic to meet your needs? What would you
Okay.
say people would need to look for when picking one?
Well, I'll use the example of what if you're going to a psychic expo and you don't know any of us from Adam's House Cat. I tell people that you have to go in there like good puppies. First, go do your walkies, which means you go in and you walk around and you look at the booths and you don't have to talk to anybody or take any information. Just get a feel. Just from the way they're set up, some will feel good to you and some will be like, nah, not going. Then you have to get paper trained. What's paper trained? Paper trained is when you go and you pick up things like our rack cards or flyers or brochures that will tell you what we are like. Once you've decided on a few of us, go back to our booth. Talk to us if we're not busy, or talk to our front people. But I tell people, remember, I can tell you I'm wonderful and that doesn't count. And we hire our front people to say they love us. My first front person was Laura Spickerman, who was my husband's office manager Monday through Friday at his museum. Do you think she's going to dismiss his museum director on the weekends? Probably not. But
Right.
we all have testimonial books. Flip through it. These are comments from clients. Are we good? Are we kind? Are we funny? Do we have specialties? Children, dogs, dead people? Would they come back? But the last thing is check in at your heart level. You are putting your hard-earned money on the table. If the psychic doesn't feel like they have a brain in their head, they really care about what they're doing, or they're going to give you good information, don't go there, no matter how cool the wiki woo looks on the table. That's
Right.
the rule.
Right, because it's important to feel like you are in resonance with the person you're receiving, spiritual counseling from.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I could see that. Um, could you tell us more about past life retrieval? Because that's really interesting
Sure.
to me. And what is somebody going, why is that important? How would that help somebody?
Sometimes there are weird things in our life or obsessions or phobias that we just don't know why they're important. And the way some people can bring down mediumship really quickly, I have a talent for past lives. The two examples that I give, there was a woman who came to me in Pennsylvania. She said, look, my son's 29. He won't make any decisions without talking to me. He won't live more than a mile from me. What is going on? And so I dropped into trance, and in about 3 minutes, I was able to say, okay, I'm seeing 1944. This is Utah Beach. It's D-Day. Your son is a soldier. He's wounded on the beach. He's got a lot of shrapnel in his leg. You're his commanding officer, and you drag him over one of the dunes. You take a little shrapnel too, but you save his life. You both get out of there and you live. I opened my eyes. She looks at me and she says, can you see my rank? I said, yes, you were a sergeant. She goes, he's called me Sarge since he was 3 years old, and we've never known why.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Second story. There was a girl who was from the Midwest. She had no relations who were in the Civil War. She didn't live near any place of the Civil War, but she was always fascinated. Again, dropped into trance. I said, all right, I'm seeing a whitewashed room, low ceiling. There are two tall gentlemen standing by a rickety iron bed. Their heads are bent over because they're almost too tall for the room. You're kneeling by the bed. It's a dark gray dress with black soutache trim. It looks like about 1862 or 3. In the bed is a weazened old black woman who was dying, and all of you are grieving because you had successfully gotten her away from a Mississippi plantation, and she was almost to the end of the Underground Railroad where she was going to get her freedom, but she was dying and she wasn't going to make it. I opened my eyes and this woman is crying and says, I've had that exact dream for 20 years and I didn't know why.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It's,
It's
again, it's not me.
confirmation.
I'm just the tube it comes through. Yes, but please don't come to me and say I must have been Anne Boleyn because I can't wear turtlenecks. No, no.
Yeah.
Out of the hundreds and hundreds of past lives I've done in my career, I think I've only picked up 3 famous people, and they weren't like, really, really famous, but they are verifiable historical people.
Wow. So I guess what it would help, one of the things that would help for your clients to
Mhm.
to have that confirmation and knowing, okay, that explains why I've had that dream all my life.
Yes,
And
yes.
also, does it help you understand the patterns that you might be repeating that can and help you resolve those patterns in your current life?
Very much so. Um, I have one client who was born into a Jewish family, always felt like they got on the wrong bus. And it wasn't until we were able to get her past life as a German pilot in World War I, who was very anti-Semitic, that she understood that her soul was bringing her into a Jewish family so she would learn the non-judgment of religion.
Right. Wow. That's got to be huge. I did do the hypnotherapy type past life
Mhm,
regression
mhm,
in the past. It was a few years ago. And I found that I was a man in my past life. And
mhm,
it was in a group setting. So it was at a
mhm,
retreat, and then it was a mix of males and females. But it was so
mhm.
funny, like most of the females were men in their past, in the life that they chose to go by. Do you see that a lot, like the gender switching?
You can't learn if you're not on both sides of the fence.
Right.
So yes, everyone has been both male and female.
Right.
I know with my particular soul, it's 80-20, 80% of my lives are male. The really tough ones are 20% female. That's when I do my biggest learning.
Wow. So what you're saying is you learn more as like in your female lives?
I give my soul gives itself a
Okay.
tougher road to hoe.
Right.
I mean, this lifetime, it's been 3 bouts of breast cancer, 2 divorces, rape, poverty, abuse, you name it.
Right.
My male lives are usually, because this is a patriarchal world, their lives don't have as much
Yeah.
grief and they're not as fraught as
Right.
female lives.
I could totally see that. And I'm sorry to hear about your story, but that makes
No, no,
total
no, no, no,
sense.
no, don't. Do not say you're sorry. At 67, everything that has happened to me has taught me, has changed me, has given me the gravitas and the non-judgment and the compassion to be a good teacher and counselor. I don't regret any of it,
Yeah.
if that's what it took.
But and that's great awareness that you have come to that.
Took me a while. I
Yeah.
was not brilliant, but that's part of living the examined life.
Right.
Is it's going to happen. I can't change it. Find what is useful about it for me, then find how to teach with it, and then next. Don't stay stuck in your story.
Yes. And it's all about the story um that creates that awareness, that understanding. Because when I
Yes.
did the past life hypnotherapy, um, I realized, because I went in with an intention of figuring out why I'm having this repeated story, this love story of being
Mhm.
the pretty much like the bad guy. And it ended up finding out that I was a cowboy and I was a male and I felt very empowered going
Mhm.
out west. And I was killed by Native Americans out there. And I think they were the Lakota. I could tell by their dress, and my constant life obsession with Native American culture. I knew that they were Lakota Indians. And I remember seeing how I died was they were standing over my head. I was laying down on the field and they slit my throat. But I
Mhm.
did not have fear. I remember that feeling very brave. And I remember renouncing to them and saying, "You can kill me 1,000 times, but I'm going to love her every time." Like that's my last thing that I said. So it was like
Okay.
right before I died. So it was like, okay, your life was saying, yep, you're going to have this pattern where you're going to be the evil person that dies for love every time in your life. And so I wanted to move on though from that and say, I don't want to understand love in that way. I want to learn
Mhm.
about love in a less abrasive way.
Yes.
Is
Good.
that even
Good.
possible?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Um, my client who couldn't understand about being Jewish, when she found this out, the animosity dropped away
Yeah.
because the learning turns lights on for us.
Right. It did. And it did drop away. And I feel like it opened up. So it really does help with
Mhm.
understanding where you're at now and where to move forward. And
Yes,
I just want
very,
to,
very much so.
yes. So I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show. I think that we got everything that we needed here. Is there anything else that you'd like to share where people may find you?
Oh, Marilyn, they can't avoid me. They really can't. My website is Corbie Mitleid. You can find me under Corbie Mitleid, Twitter, Patreon, YouTube, Instagram, Medium. It's all there.
Okay, CorbieMitleid.com.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, folks, you've heard it, CorbieMitleid.com. Be sure to check her out. She obviously has some talent because she was able to confirm my cat cafe life path potential that I may return to someday, just not right now, I've decided, but it might be a sign. So thank you so
Keep it in
much,
mind.
Corbie.
You're welcome.
All right. Take care and we'll see you later.
Okay.
I I hope you enjoyed that special little episode we had on psychic medium Corbie Mitleid. Be sure to. Oh, 1 second. I have to add a little bit more hogswort potion to Marilyn. She's starting to wake up, and I got to keep her asleep all through the Sawin season. Don't forget to check out Corbie's books, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie, and Clean Out Your Life Closet. So let's get ready to have some fun, because it's the best time of year. See you next week.